Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting APIs to Work. Today, we want to talk about how to make $5 billion with APIs. And to learn about how to do that with us is Tanya Vlahovic, who is Distinguished Engineer at eBay and lead of the developer experience. Tanya, how are you doing? Thanks for joining.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me today.
I'm sure today we have an exceptionally interested audience because you will tell us how to make $5 billion. Before we start into that, give us a little introduction on how you started with eBay, what you did before, and how you went on the path that led to this number that we'll discuss in a little while.
So I joined eBay in 2011. Initially, I worked in the identity team, where I was responsible for the near real-time entity resolution of marketplace accounts into customer entities. Later, I worked in the risk team, where I was focused on the seller's risk assessment. And finally, in late 2015, I joined the developer ecosystem organization. At eBay back then, it was mostly all about SOAP and XML RPC APIs. And that's when we decided to completely revamp our developers program. And it was so interesting back then. This was probably the most exciting part of my professional career so far. Before I joined eBay, I worked on the RESTful APIs and then transitioned back to SOAP and XML RPC. So it was such a great opportunity end of 2015 to start revamping that eBay's developers program. And we launched the developers program and the initial set of the APIs in November 2000. So we literally pioneered the API work.
That is just such a staggering date, November 2000. Like for most people that back then APIs weren't even on the radar. So eBay definitely is a very early adopter of APIs.
Exactly. So these first APIs, of course, were limited to a small number of licensed developers and partners, but they brought a lot of value to our buyers and sellers and also to us. But on the other hand, these APIs show their age, and that's why we decided to deliver a new modern family of RESTful APIs.
So when you start, I think you started with APIs at eBay in 2016, 15?
End of 2015, yes.
15. And you started that in a specific segment of APIs, right? Let's talk a little bit about which APIs you were focusing on.
Yeah, so APIs are critical to eBay, and the fact that we launched them 20 years ago, right, tells a lot. So they are the front door to our marketplace platform. They enable our business to expand into new contexts. Developers use our APIs and our tools to create experiences to delight their users, who in the end are our customers, buyers and sellers. And we truly believe in the B2D or business to developer model, where our APIs are the building blocks that allow our partners around the globe to innovate and to create these new experiences by putting the building blocks together in a unique way. So the first thing that we did 5 years ago was to define the API taxonomy. So we classified our APIs into 4 contexts that represent the logical grouping of the capabilities: sell, buy, commerce, and developer. Sell APIs have capabilities that enable sellers to manage all aspects of their eBay business at scale. Buy APIs allow our partners to curate the inventory of their choice that fits into their business model, surface it into their own experience, and even transact without visiting eBay sites or using our native apps. Commerce APIs have capabilities that are common to both buy and sell use cases. And finally, developer is for developers to get insights into their integration with our APIs and with our platform, such as progress to rate limit and so on. So in general, our APIs enable sellers to manage all aspects of their eBay business at scale. And then over the last few years, starting end of 2015, we invested heavily in the buy APIs. They enable partners on the buy side to curate the inventory, again, to optimize for the conversion, and then finally transact from their own experience. So back in 2015, 2016, we actually tackled both areas, buy and sell, when we decided to revamp our APIs, basically to enhance what we had on the selling side, and also to deliver some new capabilities for the very first time on the buy side.
One of the things that I really liked when we prepared for this interview was that you really had a strong product focus when you designed those APIs, right? Really focusing on what do the people actually need who want to use those APIs. So could you tell us a little bit more about how that product thinking manifested in the way how you designed the APIs, how you iterated on designs, how you collaborated with partners, and so forth?
API first strategy is what we want to do, and we are moving towards that. And for us, this is way more than just the engineering concept and jumping into releasing an API. It's about the use cases, capabilities, and actors who will benefit from such capabilities. So it's the culture that the stakeholders should adopt, definitely beyond the engineering concept. And APIs are always in the business context. They are products for solving business problems. So we always start from the problem statement. And I keep telling architects and engineers who I work with that it's absolutely fine to have a healthy dose of skepticism. So keep asking questions and make sure that the problem statement is properly framed, because sometimes that is a challenge also. And when we decided to revamp our API portfolio, the first thing that came was the necessity to standardize our new APIs. And to be more precise, that applies to everything related to the APIs, design concepts, patterns, vocabulary and naming convention, the cross-cutting concerns. And this also includes all of the aspects of developer experience. In general, standards define what's constant across the APIs. So for the sake of a good developer experience, my message is to always define standards, the what part, but to be flexible on the how part. That will ensure that the API portfolio is consistent, but also it gives engineers some creative freedom. And it sounds easy when I just say this and when I talk about that, but it has a lot of challenges at the beginning. So establishing the governance process, agreeing on the standards and on the specs is a challenge, because typically every single architect has their own point of view. So it's a challenge to get aligned. But once the organizations come up with that alignment, everything that comes after that is really smooth, and the entire process goes very well. And so for us, it's essential to partner with trusted developers. We pilot and test new capabilities with our partners, and this results in enhancing the API portfolio. And we iterate. We start with the API design, and of course, we follow the consumer-centric approach, and we try to optimize for our developers and to avoid shipping org charts. That's yet another challenge, which I think we all are aware of. But it is crucial to deliver what developers ask for and what will work for them. It's a good practice to proceed with beta releases. That is what followed for our new buy APIs. And we also practice to travel, to meet our partners and do workshops with them. Of course, this was before the global pandemic, but I'm hoping that we'll get back to this mode soon. And
one of the things is just that I think, if you're really looking at APIs from this much as a product-oriented perspective, right? My question then is also a little bit, how do you measure kind of how good the designs are? Like, what are the key things you look for to say, oh, this is good enough, or this is not good enough, we should change it? I'm just wondering, like, what are the indicators that you have an eye on?
So actually, we rely on the feedback loop a lot. So it's very important for us, and it's good to do that as early as possible and often. And we rely on both direct and indirect feedback. So that definitely helps to shape strategies and roadmaps. So direct feedback comes from all of these partnerships with trusted developers. We share the design first, interface and contract, and then we iterate, we pilot this with them and so on. But then what's also very important is this indirect feedback that comes from insights and the API usage analysis. And I really believe in the Know Your Developer or KOID process. I came up with that acronym in the context of a developer program a couple of years ago, and I really like it. It tells a lot. So it is crucial to look into the API usage to understand how developers integrate with the APIs, to understand what's the value they bring to us. And by doing this, it is straightforward to spot workarounds. Any workaround tells a lot. Most likely there's something missing in the API portfolio. And the thriving API ecosystems are extensible and adaptive. Some of the APIs that don't bring value disappear while some others, prosper. But it is important to look into data to understand which way to go and how to support developers to get the best of their integrations. And APIs could easily turn against organizations. So, we must look into the API usage, try to understand who our developers are in order to support them better.
And possibly find misuse. So now when you have arrived at a point where you think the APIs are good enough, let's put it like this, or they're good, now we come to this number. So I'm just wondering, it's like, so you had a lot of success with those buyer APIs, right? They were launched 5 years ago?
Yeah, at the end of 2016. End of
2016, so almost 5 years ago. So, and we have this wonderful $5 billion mark on that. So just briefly explain to us where that number comes from. I just like that story.
Yeah, so APIs are to solve the business problems. And the business problems always come with the business objectives that are measurable. If it has to be that way, otherwise the API program doesn't make much sense. So it is essential to understand how to measure the success of the APIs, basically how to measure the value that they bring. So operational metrics are important, right? They indicate the health of the platform, but they also illustrate, the scale of a developer's program. But what makes sense is to really focus on the business metrics, on the value that is exchanged via the APIs. These business metrics show why the platform was built. And we are a global marketplace with 185 million buyers coming from 190 markets. So for us, it's all about connecting buyers and sellers. And we make sure that the API capabilities that we have, allow partners actually to achieve that, that we have capabilities that our partners need. We invested heavily in these buy APIs over the last 5 years. We started onboarding partners in 2017. So in less than 4 years, we basically hit that 5 billion milestone, which is really incredible. And, there is always this, question, should we monetize APIs or not, and so on. So I think everyone keeps going back and forth. So for us, that API monetization makes sense only when digital assets have value and when it's not possible to generate, revenue or basically value directly. That's not the case with our APIs. So we just, give them to our partners. They, again, expand our business into new contexts and accelerate our business and drive our business. And that's exactly what happened to the buy APIs. We just, followed all of these practices that I mentioned today, found strategic partners, worked with them, kept iterating, having workshops, making sure to deliver what they really need and what will help, our business to grow. And the numbers really show that. generating 5 billion GMV in less than 4 years is a significant achievement, and we're really proud of it.
Truly is. Just out of curiosity, I have to ask that question. Did you ever consider charging for access to this specific set of APIs? Is that even a thought that crossed your mind, and how was that discussed?
For this set of APIs, no.
No,
So,
yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Yes, so there could be again, as I explained, so if the digital assets have value, then it makes sense to charge for them. But again, our APIs enable sellers to manage their eBay business at scale. So if they improve their velocity, that brings value to us, brings value to our buyers. We generate more GMV, gross merchandise volume, or GMV, which is gross merchandise bought. The same applies to the buy APIs. If our partners do well and surface our inventory into their own experiences, drive traffic to eBay, drive transactions, then again we get a lot of value. So it didn't make much sense to monetize this set of APIs. It may change in the future with some potential new capabilities, but when it comes to managing sellers business or doing all of these affiliate related integration models, we don't see a need to monetize our APIs.
Are there any, just of curiosity, are there any APIs currently that eBay charges for that you provide?
Not really.
Not really. I was just thinking about, I guess, for example, it could be something like product reviews, right? Maybe if I just want to get some product reviews from eBay, maybe that's something, that's useful and that people would pay for. I don't know. But
possible. So that's I wanted to sort of stay open. So there could be use cases that may come in the future. So it really, I would say there is not a simple answer whether to monetize or not. So I think everything needs to be considered when making such decisions. So there are companies that monetize their APIs, and that's basically their main business, and that totally makes sense. So it really depends on the circumstances and on the use cases and the integration models.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've definitely proven that there are cases, and I always say that's the majority of cases, where the APIs should just drive the business, and then it's a natural thing to do, right? There's not, you're not trying to make money with the API directly. Given that you are, and another thing actually I would like to talk about briefly, and I hope I'll get you for another interview later on, is you're also in charge of the overall API guidelines, right? So is that something that's new, or is that basically something that started with the buyer APIs and then it was kind of transitioned into being the global API guidelines?
Yeah, so yes, I am in charge of the overall API governance. So that is something that, again, when we revamped the program end of 2015, we established this governance process, and that applies to every single API that we have in our portfolio. So that applies to all of these new APIs. We are still following some practices from the past when it comes to these APIs that we launched years ago. But when we revamped the program, so we revamped every single aspect of it, which includes the API governance, and we strongly believe in that API governance. So again, it was not easy at all to establish that process and to get alignment, but it now works very well for us. I keep saying, if you have 4 architects in the room, by the end of the discussion, there will be at least 5 suggestions on how to proceed, because at least one of them will change their mind before the meeting ends. So it was really challenging, a few years ago to define the standards, especially in case of RESTful APIs. It's just an architecture style. So, and I think everyone goes to the same set of questions. Should we use a plural or a singular for resource names and things like that, right? So it causes so many, debates and discussions and so on. But I think it's important to agree, even if, I doubt that every single architect agrees with every single aspect and every single standard, but as long as there is alignment, it's okay to proceed, because it's important to have that consistency. We have to keep in mind that there are human beings on the other side integrating with our API, so we have to make sure to make that as smooth as possible. So when it comes to error handling and every single other cross-cutting concern.
It's definitely nice from the consumer side, right? If I consume APIs and there's a certain logic to how they are designed, it makes my life certainly easier. So I think it makes a lot of sense from that point of view. Given how successful those APIs were and how nicely they support or drive eBay's business, I'm wondering, like, what's next for you? What's on your agenda in terms of API activities?
So we are not done yet. That's good. Again, the APIs are the front door to our platform. So we'll continue opening our marketplace platform to third-party developers. So almost every single initiative at eBay impacts third parties in their integration. So we are making sure that our APIs are aligned with our top initiatives, and we want to make sure that developers have the flexibility to leverage all of the latest, capabilities that we are introducing for our buyers and sellers. So that's going to continue, and then we are also very focused on improving the overall developer experience. So it's not just to deliver an API. So we are not done when we do that. So supporting developers and the overall developer experience is equally important. And we talked about that API first strategy and the importance of a good design. And basically, we are trying to emphasize on the importance of documentation, but we also want to make sure that all of the API contracts are self-explanatory and easy to understand. So I keep saying that in RESTful APIs, every single URI is like a sentence. So HTTP methods are verbs, resources are nouns. So when developers take a look at all of these URIs, they should understand what the APIs are doing without offering, surprises. And it's important to have a good API reference and other docs, but we don't want our developers to study the documentation. I mean, the integration should be really simple. Then we pay a lot of attention to the Open API initiative and spec. So it bootstraps the integration with our APIs, simplifies when developers have a way to generate clients in almost any programming language they use. And we are also focused on the SDKs. So for us, SDKs are not just wrappers around, just to enable calling the APIs. So we just try to provide more value when we release these SDKs, because we have open API contracts for generating clients. So our SDKs typically take care of some cross-cutting concerns or add some other value. And we also try to avoid just releasing black boxes. So we open sourced our SDK so that developers can get insights into their integration with our APIs, and we also welcome contribution from our developer community. And that's it. So we are not done. So we have a lot of work to do.
It seems like that's quite a bit. So I think you're not running out of work anytime soon. And I really like all the things, kind of how you're focusing on developer experience, how to make it as easy as possible for developers to understand and consume APIs. And I think it shows definitely in what you've achieved so far, how that works. Of course, it also works. I think it's always important also to realize that there's just so much value in the eBay platform that, people want to have it, right? So if you have APIs, you will naturally have people who say, yes, we want to use those APIs. So I think there's always that aspect as well.
Yeah, so that is true. Also, we had a lot of experience, right? So running developers program for 20 years, means that there are so many lessons learned and such a huge developer community. So we had a lot of fun and excitement when we decided to start this journey to revamp the program, because again, there were so many lessons learned, so many trusted developers, strategic developers who we could partner with. So we really enjoyed every single step of this journey in trying to bring this to the next level.
I think you've definitely succeeded, at least for the last 4.5 or 5 years, where you saw this through to generating this plus value. Tanya, thanks so much for joining. I really hope that I can get you on the show to talk more about API governance and how you do that, because I think that is also fascinating, and it's something that, in particular in large organizations, is really interesting. So I hope you'll be back.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite topics. So
There you
love
go.
to talk to you about that.
Okay, but thanks for today. Thanks again for joining. I hope everybody liked it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Thanks again, Tanya, and bye, everybody.
Thank you, Eric. It was great chatting with you today. Bye.
Bye.